Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our continuing coverage of the Halo 4 campaign. This time we're going to be taking a look at the 7th mission, Composer. And with me today is Peter Cooper to help me cover the events of this mission. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. I don't think you've been on our show before.
I've not, no. I'm sure you've extended the invite before. I've never actually had the opportunity to hop along onto the podcast, so it's great to be here.
Well, we are happy to have you. So since this is your first time on, it's not technically a podcast, but it's a segment, but since this is your first time on Podcast Ever, why don't you give the people at home a little introduction to yourself and kind of where you crowd around the internet and what forums and websites and whatnot.
Okay, well, my name's Pete Cooper. I'm a lurker on HBO and various other Halo websites. Was involved with the live-action Halo project, Operation Chastity. Was the original creator of that, and I'm a professional writer working on another comic project, which I've shown on HBO as a comic called Telecross Protocol, and working on various other projects as well. Big Halo fan. So really excited to be able to talk to you about this today, and just a big gamer really.
Alrighty, so hopefully we can get some good info from you for this mission. Like we said before, we are doing Composer, which is the 7th mission in the game, which also contains the 6th terminal, and we'll point that out when we get there. But first of all, what this mission is leading from is the last one where we were chasing the Didact, or trying to prevent him from leaving Requiem, but we kind of failed in that regard, so now we are chasing him all the way to Installation 03, and actually he's going after a Forerunner artifact called the Composer, hence the name of the campaign mission, Composer. So our mission is to try to stop him from obtaining it by any means necessary. So we've hijacked a Lish, and we've gone into slipspace, and now we've arrived at Installation 03. What you first do as the Chief is you go below deck, and because Chief is awesome and he doesn't need any help, the cutscene has him taking out the crew of the Lish, and then he takes control by plugging Cortana into the console.
He doesn't even need to do anything particularly special, therefore they don't even bother showing it.
I know, right? He's just a badass enough to where he can do that all on his own.
They just leave it all up to you in your own mind to work out what it is. Just 2 gunshots, that's all you hear. Yeah, it's very understated stuff. It's very much Chief style.
I was thinking it was more like an assassination, but because
you didn't hear any sort of like or anything kind of like that going on. So
I guess not. But with how the elite fell and how the shields were still kind of flashing afterwards, I don't know.
That's true.
I would like to imagine that it could have been an assassination.
Maybe it's like a style of assassination they've yet to put into the game.
Maybe. So Chief takes over Cortana takes over the ship with Chief's help, and then he radios into the station, the space station that is holding the Composer. It's a research station that the UNSC has put up to study the ring and study this Forerunner artifact. And we are introduced to Dr. Tilson, which
lovely lady.
Yes, very lovely indeed. And he radios into her, and Chief basically tells her that, yes, we know that he's looking for an artifact, and she seems surprised as ever how he would know that, since he hasn't even been there before. And Chief is basically telling her that we're coming in, make sure you prevent the Composer from being obtained by the Didact at all costs. And during your little conversation with Dr. Tilson, Cortana decides to go...
She flips out.
Yeah, she goes crazy there for a second. And
yeah, she really loses it in an epic way. We've known from the get-go that she has issues. Right. I'd like to think she felt a bit better after letting some of these issues out after this particular outburst.
One would hope, but she's messed up.
Yeah.
It's just been getting worse and worse, and I don't know if it's what she was talking about, because she was rambling on about some chess game or something. I don't know if this was like a memory of Dr. Halsey with Tilson before, or...
I don't know if this is Halsey with Tilson or if this is Cortana against Halsey.
Yeah, because it seemed like something.
I'm getting some real money issues going on there.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was triggered by the fact that it was Dr. Tilson on the other side, or if it just happened to be a time where Cortana decided to go crazy for the split second.
I don't know. I'd like some additional insight into this, because the first thing she says is, do you know what the first thing was that she said to me?
Yeah.
Which made me wonder whether that was a Halsey flashback. It then starts going into discussion of this chess game, and then next thing you know, Cortana's saying, I'm your greatest creation, and you hate me, and it very quickly spirals from there. So I wonder if it's a mix of all of these things all happening at the same time, or if it's something a bit more than that.
Well, so in some of the previous cutscenes, we've actually seen where when Cortana is speaking from a Halsey memory, it actually says Catherine Halsey in the subtitles, but all the subtitles in this cutscene say Cortana.
So it may well be that she was just flipping out. Literally, she just lost it completely, lost her cool. And as we'll see as the level goes on, or as the mission goes on, perhaps, it gets worse and worse and worse. Cortana really is starting to degrade, and this is just the edge. It gets far worse from here. Yeah.
So, because Cortana is flipping out, she fails to approach the station in a safe manner, so the Lich decides to just go crash landing into one of the loading bays. Fortunately enough, Chief and Cortana are okay, and they get out of the ship. And, of course, Dr. Tilson was a little worried when the comms cut out, and the ship basically crashed into the station. So she's relieved to hear that the Chief's okay, and Chief is kind of giving her orders to make sure, again, that everyone's getting evacuated and the Didact is not getting anywhere close to the composer. So where you end up is this kind of like a docking bay. It's not really a loading bay. It's a side docking bay, or maybe it was a part of the station that was supposed to be an actual side of it, not part of the loading bay, and then you just smashed into it, so something just kind of ripped open there. But anyways, he's in the station now. There's some ammo you can pick up. I believe there's some assault rifle ammo.
You got some AR ammo, some Magnum ammo. You also got once you head further and you enter the first doorway, you'll also find a sticky detonator. So if you want to blow some stuff up in really creative ways, you've also got that option too.
Yeah, and I have a feeling you'll be talking about it later too from the pre-show discussion.
Yeah, I do like me some sticky detonating.
So the first room of enemies you come into is the actual big hangar bay for the station, and you see this jackal jumping towards a marine. And the first marine that the jackal's attacking, you really can't do anything about. He's long gone. So take out the jackal as quickly as you can. And then there's a couple of grunts and a few more jackals and an elite that you have to take out in the first area. Then you kind of go through a small little platform / building, and then that's your second encounter where you encounter more grunts and elites. And if you're playing on Legendary, you'll actually have 2 beam rifle jackals shooting at you on the upper level in the next room. So as you're making your way through that, make sure that you take out most of the grunts first. You can stay back quite a bit and headshot all the grunts, and just make sure that you watch out for the jackals. If you don't go far enough, the jackals may see your feet, so you'll have a few warning shots before they shoot you, so you can quickly dive into cover. But I would suggest taking out most of the grunts first, or if you're gutsy enough or skilled enough to kind of run out there and take out the jackals very quickly.
Yeah, that's not me.
Fair enough. So after that second room, you come up to a room where Marines are kind of holding down the area, and there's some more sticky detonator ammo in there. There's some DMR ammo upstairs, some Magnum ammo upstairs, I think, as well. And there's a second hangar bay that you have to go through and take out all the Covenant in there. There will be a series of 2 or 3 dropships depending on how quickly you move. You're instructed by Cortana to close the or activate the shields for the hangar base so no more Covenant can come in. And if you're doing on normal or heroic, it's pretty easy to go through all the enemies pretty quickly and then close the door. But what you're going to have to end up doing is at the far end of the hangar bay, like where the door is on the right walkway, there's a switch you have to activate, and that will raise the shields. The first drop ship that comes in, the first Phantom that comes in, is just your regular group of enemies, a few grunts, some jackals, and a couple of elites. And then the second one that comes in is a set of elites with swords, and I think one of them has a concussion rifle. So you want to take those out, probably with a noob combo, or maybe if you have your sticky detonator, use that instead.
Well, you do have the option to also, because when you leave the door, one of the first things you find is a turret.
Yeah, there is a turret.
So you do have the option to, rather than burning ammo, taking up the turret.
I find that turret, though, is not in a very good spot.
Well, the useful thing for that is because as you leave the door on the left-hand side, there'll very often be a jackal with a sniper, or a jackal with a carbine. I can't remember which. Is it carbine?
It depends on the difficulty.
Off to the left of the door.
It depends on the
okay.
Actually, I think it's only carbine.
Okay. And the turret is perfectly lined up to take a stab at that guy, so you can just open up on that guy immediately. But because the way the dropships land, there are two branches sort of leading out towards the opening of the bay. And what you can do is you can basically cover the entirety of one of those, the right hand side, which is where the Phantom comes in and drops off its cargo.
You mean with the turret or with the jackal
turret
position? No, the turret's on the right hand side, and you can cover the left.
I can normally get a decent aim on the right hand side. Maybe that's because I detach it too quickly.
Yeah, I think because you don't even get a look all the way down the walkway on the left hand side, and with all the crates and boxes and other stuff part of the station that's there, it's hard to get a beat on some of the Covenant that are hiding behind them. So, if you want to rip off the turret, that's a good way to do it. But I find that using the turret, unless you rip it off, is kind of a waste of time. Yeah,
I mean, the good thing about being able to rip off the turret and head down there is because you get to save whatever ammo you do have. It means that you can, because when if you stay down that end, you get the sword guys, they'll immediately run away from the rest of the group, which just leaves them really easy to pick off. You can just open up with the turret, take them out from afar real easy. Noob combo is great for elites in general anyway, so, always advisable at the best of times. But it does make it that little bit easier having the sword elites separate from the rest, just so they don't surprise you somehow.
Right. So I believe there's either 2 or 3 different waves that come in via Phantoms, and then once you try to go for that switch, once you get, I think, about halfway down that bridge to get that switch, it triggers an event for the elite Phantom to come down, and it'll drop the elites right on that pad where you have to activate the switch. So you either have to make a mad dash, activate the switch, and run back, or you have to wait for them to drop, take them out, and then go activate the switch. So depending on what your style of gameplay is, what your strategy is, pick one of those two and prepare to fight those elites, because you have to take out all of the enemies in that area before you can move on.
That's right.
After that hangar part, you will have a door that's over where you first came into the hangar bay. It's going to be over to the right-hand side. So as you're coming back down the walkway, it's going to be on the left. A door will open. There will be 3 jackals and an elite there. So pick up some plasma grenades from the Covenant that I've dropped there, chunk a few in there, and you'll clear all of them out most of the time. The elite might still be standing afterwards, but he's usually pretty weak, so you can take him out with a few pistol shots or an assault rifle or a frag if you have one of those left over. And then as you move further in, you'll see some grunts, and I believe this is another part where you'll see some more jackal snipers up on the top. So watch out for those as you're going through as well. Most of the grunts will kind of walk up and walk around to where you can headshot them without exposing yourself too much. They do have a tendency to throw grenades at this part, though, so watch out as you have some tight corners that you can get really easily pinned in this area. But if you keep on moving forward, pressing forward, and shooting at them, you'll be okay at this part. There is a plasma turret here as well, so take out the guy that's operating that. I believe it starts off with a grunt, and some other grunt can come and pick it up afterwards, or an elite will come by and hop on it if you kill one of their buddies as well.
They're just, as I was saying earlier, do the one-handed turret grab thing, which still looks kind of weird to me, but it's very funny to see.
What do you mean the one-handed turret grab?
The elite. I was because when I was playing it earlier, there was a gold elite on the on the turret, and rather than holding it with the two hands, he was only holding it with one.
Really?
Yeah, it was like he was about to spank it or something. It was really weird.
That's weird.
I don't know if that was just my on my Xbox, but I need to try and replicate that because that looked awesome.
Okay.
Simple things. What can I say?
Quote of the podcast. It looks like the elite's about to spank a turret.
Yeah, we should probably leave that there.
Yeah. So moving on, once you go through that set of enemies there, you have to kind of go up the stairs and drop down to a little group of grunts, but you can easily take them out or run past them. Then you have to kind of go up this set of stairs, and there's some grunts that are kind of running away from you, so you can backsmack most of them or headshot them as you're making your way up. I think there's like 2 flights of stairs, and then once you get up top, there's some more grunts and a couple of elites there that you have to take out as well. And once you get through those, you'll have a door that you can open. I believe all the time one of them is a gold elite too. I don't think in the last section we were at it's always a gold elite, but in here there's always at least one gold elite. Then the door opens up, and then this is the first part where you actually get scanned in the game. And Cortana will make the comment that the Didact doesn't know where the composer is, so he'll be scanning the station, I think like 4 or 5 different times throughout the duration of this mission.
It's 3 or 4, I think.
Okay. We'll take the middle ground. Maybe it's 4. But as you're getting scanned, you come up to this next room, and there's I think a shotgun in front of the door, or it's behind the door, but this is the room where you have the hunters.
Hey.
So this is a part where there's a achievement, actually.
Yes. If you want to take the time out to try and do some achievement hunting, there's an achievement here for being able to kill the hunters in the room using nothing but the sticky detonator on heroic or legendary.
Right.
Much easier than some of the other achievements in the game, if only because of the fact that you not only have the sticky detonator there's a very well lit lab as you enter. It's right in front of you. It's in the right hand corner of the room. You run in there. The sticky detonator's on the middle table, but there's also just outside. If you follow the back wall, there's an ammo rack on there, and you do have the freedom to pick up another, must be another 8 rounds or something. So you got about 12 rounds in total to blow away the hunters. Nice and easy, and just really good fun.
Mm-hmm. So the achievement is called "Give Him the Stick." It's worth 20 gamer score, and like Pete just said, you have to kill both of the hunters with only the sticky detonator. That means that you have to fully use the sticky detonator. You can't like use a shotgun and then kill him with the sticky detonator. You have to use only sticky detonator to damage and then kill him.
That's right. So nice and easy. You can shoot them in the legs. You drop them on the ground and blow them up from below. I mean, it normally takes no more than 4 grenades in total to kill a hunter. So that's if you.
I think on legendary it takes a few more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think. Well, maybe it is 3. I would have to go back and check. I'm not exactly sure. Thinking about it now.
And the key thing is, if you're blowing off the armor plates and getting some decent hits on them anyway, you'll get rid of them soon enough, and you have plenty of ammo to go around. So no excuses.
Yeah, I think there's so there's not an ammo crate in there, but there are 2 sticky detonators, which each of them hold, I believe, 5 extra grenades, so it has a clip of 6.
Yeah, that's right.
I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But you have enough to take out both hunters if you get a shot on each one of them every time. So moving on from that room after you get your achievement, if you're going for the achievement, or if you're not, just taking out the hunters, you go into a cutscene with Dr. Tilson, and you're in your discussion with her, you're trying to figure out how to get the artifact off the station without the Didact being able to get his hands on it. And Dr. Tilson's like, you know how long it took us to get this thing over here? It's not going anywhere. And then after that's said, Chief has asked Tilson to give Cortana the access to the inventory on the station, and she finds that there are 7 excavation-grade Havoc nukes that could possibly destroy the Composer. And of course, Dr. Tilson, being a scientist, is kind of opposed to the idea with all the work that they've put into it. And Chief is like, there's there's a little bit more at stake here with the Didact if he's able to get the Composer. So she finally kind of gives in. It's like she'll prime the nukes, and then you're off to go do your thing. So as you make your way out, you're put in this big chamber where the Composer is, and there's people walking around with mantises, and you can actually get one of your terminals here as well. This is the 6th terminal. If you walk over to where you're supposed to go, which is over to the right-hand side, if you go a little bit further to the right, where the ramp is that you're supposed to go up, there's a part on the wall that says Atrium. If you go in there, in the little rocks areas in there, that's where your 6th terminal, domain terminal, is. So if you're going for that achievement, make sure you pick up that domain terminal. After you do that, or if you're deciding to skip that, you can walk up the ramp to your next objective, and to the room on the left, there's actually some more sticky detonator ammo that you can pick up. Then you can walk back to the door. After some dialogue with Dr. Tilson, the door will open up, and there will be a Marine there sitting on the ground. Give him a minute or so, he'll stand up and open the door to the next part of the mission for you. And this is where you can, I believe you get scanned again, because the Didact's still looking for the Composer. There's some jackals with shields, and you can, after you take them out, you make your way through some back halls. There's some more Covenant that you have to fight off, some grunts, some elites, and then you get to your first airlock. Now, the interesting things about this area is I didn't actually find this out until about my 3rd or 4th playthrough, but if you can take out the enemies that are currently in there quick enough, you can actually go to the airlocks, and you can see the groups of Covenant coming into the airlocks. Like, the door will be open on the outside and it closes. You have about a 3-second window where you can activate the outside door to the airlock, and it'll flush all the enemies out, and then you won't have to worry about fighting them. So I believe that happens in this first section 3 different times. There's 3 different waves of Covenant that come in, so any wave that you can flush out back into space prevents you from having to fight those.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive though. I mean, if you do want to fight them, if you are feeling masochistic and you want to waste some ammo and so on, you can. There are some great sort of elevated walkways which are accessible on the left-hand side of that room, and also there's another airlock later on you can do the same thing with, and that gives you a really great field of vision for trying to take out any of the Covenant that are there. For example, if you can't get to the airlocks in time to flush the enemy out, or if you don't manage to take out the elites quickly enough that are walking around on the gangway directly in front of you as you enter through the door, that does give you the ability to try and pick off the Covenant as they come in through the airlocks below you. So you do have that option as well.
And I think for the most part, you can, if you want to, you can just there's the doorway to the left as you enter into the airlock, and that's where it actually goes and leads up, and then you can actually pick most of the enemies off from the top, because I believe most of them are grunts and jackals, and maybe there's 1 or 2 elites that come in through the airlock. So this first set is really not that hard to deal with.
Yeah, first set's nice and easy. It's grunts, it's shield
Shield jackals.
That's the one.
And a couple of carbine jackals.
Yeah,
I think you were looking for infantry jackal. They're the ones with the shields.
You will find that that on the elevated positions you do have DMRs and things like that, so you can pick those up to give you that little added extra for taking those out and getting your headshots. So you'd have to rely on finding a Magnum or something like that, or using a Covenant carbine. Although, I say I do like the carbine, so any excuse.
Right. After the first airlock, you come into another set of corridors, and there's some Marines being held down by a couple of grunts and elites, and the elite that is there you can actually backsmack. So you can assassinate him or just take him out quickly. And then there's a few more elites and grunts and jackals you have to deal with, and then you come up to your second airlock. And this one is a little bit more heavy in terms of how many enemies are there. You have a gold elite that's there on the gangway that you were standing on. Then I believe the jackal that's up top on the balcony on the right actually is a sniper jackal on legendary.
I believe so.
So make sure you take him out quickly once you get into that room. There's some more grunts there, and then of course you can do the same thing again with the airlocks where you can flush the enemies out as they're coming in, or you can stay up top. There's some back pathways, some maintenance ramps that you can take to get up to the top, and then just take them out from there. The amount of waves that come through the airlocks, though, I think is between double and triple what they were in the last one. From the video I just watched, there's about, I think, 7 or 8 different times that they can come in. So after you either clean up those enemies by letting them come in, or after you release them back into space by opening the airlocks, then you can make your way to the next part where you get scanned a third time. So at this point, the Didact is probably figuring out where the composer is from his numerous scans. But you finally get to the point where you can activate the base's defenses. So you plug Cortana in, she does her thing, and Dr. Tilson's like, "Yay, I hear the defenses. They're actually doing something for a change.
Huzzah!
Yay!" So they're basically like major railgun turrets that are just on the asteroid that you are in. So after that happens, actually, I forgot to mention, there are some camo elites in that room that you have to take out. So
you'll find that there's one at the console, which is controlling the gun turrets. There's also one off to the left-hand side as well.
Right. So I should have mentioned that a little before then, but take
Surprise!
those out with a sticky detonator or a noob combo like plasma pistol DMR or plasma pistol Magnum, and those are pretty easy to take out. It's not too hard to see the shimmers, and especially when they start running towards you. So take those out, plug Cortana in, activate the base's defenses again, and make your merry way back down to the main atrium where the composer is, and to pick up the nuke.
One other thing to point out, if you go over to the main terminal, immediately turn 180, you'll also find some more weapons lockers. So there you can find some ARs, sticky detonator if you want it, grenades as well.
Alrighty. Lots of sticky detonator on this map.
Love it. It's as I was saying before, this level really is a love letter to the sticky detonator and shows absolutely every reason why you should use it, mainly for just blowing absolutely everything up. Great fun.
I like the sticky detonator, but I don't find it extremely useful.
It's much less useful on legendary than I think I'd like. You think okay, you get a sticky, or if you get a stick on an enemy, you're almost guaranteed an insta kill. I don't find that's the case when using the sticky detonator, which can be very frustrating. You might even manage to get 2 hits on someone and it won't necessarily kill them, which is really annoying.
It seems a little bit underpowered compared to just like regular grenades. I mean, it's nice to kind of get that explosive piece in there, but it still seems like it just takes a lot to get enemies out, especially on legendary.
Yeah, on legendary, it's definitely much weaker than perhaps it should be. And at the same time, you play it on any other difficulty, and it's a really rewarding weapon to use. It's really fun, and some of the kills you can get with it really are really satisfying. So less good on Legendary, but I think you can say that of a lot of the otherwise satisfying weapons, especially the AR. I mean, the AR can tear things up.
Yeah,
in anything but Legendary.
I find it has some uses in Legendary.
Oh, it has some uses.
I mean, mostly against like grunts or jackals, definitely not against elites.
Oh,
but the AR has definitely been beefed up compared to some of the other games, I think.
Definitely.
Like even compared to Halo 1.
Yeah, and when you also combine that with the sound work they did with the weapons as well for Halo 4 and everything, it really is a completely different experience using the weapon. It's really entertaining.
Right. So once you pull Cortana, you make your way down some more ramps, and there's another long haul of Covenant that you have to fight off. There's a couple of elites, a few jackals, and a few grunts, so nothing too out of the ordinary for you. Once you take those out, you come back into the atrium where the composer is, and you have to wait for some dialogue to happen first. If you go over to the left, there's a Spartan laser that you can pick up, and the door that's going to open is actually going to end up being on your right, and you get scanned by the Didact once again while you're in this area. Once you get outside, you will find a mantis. You will want to hop into that as quickly as possible. And once you get in there, you can take all the grunts that are walking in front of you and the jackals. There's a lot of just foot infantry at the beginning, and then there'll be some more phantoms that come in and drop enemies off later on. If you're doing this on co-op, there are 2 mantises available. I don't know if there's a full 4. I want to say there is, but I don't think I've played this one on 4-player co-op yet to know. Do you know if there's 4 mantises for everybody?
I've never played it for 4-player co-op either. One thing I would point out though is on the opposite side from where you hop into the mantis and start killing absolutely everything, you do have 2 grunts that have fuel rod cannons, and they can kill you pretty quick if you're not mobile. So get moving. Open up with the Gatling gun as quickly as humanly possible, and you'll tear them up nice and easy.
I find that if I just stop and use the turret first, the one that's there beside the mantis, and take out the infantry there, that it's a little bit easier because you have a certain angle to where you can shoot them, but they can't shoot you. And then with the mantis, you're a little bit more open-ended. So I actually do the mounted machine gun first, and then I hop into the mantis after most of the foot infantry is taken care of.
That's a really good suggestion because considering what's about to come up,
you want the mantis to be as unharmed as possible.
You want it in the best possible condition. Literally, the last thing you want to have happen is just losing absolutely everything, and that will happen if you let your if you let your mantis get absolutely wrecked. So definitely take that on board. You use the mounted machine gun if you can, or if you are going to take the mantis from the get-go, then just make sure that you're mobile and you get out the area as soon as possible, right. And then head around the corner.
Well, one thing I think to note about using the mantis is you really want to use that kind of inner quote-unquote island or pedestal that the composer's on, because it provides you a way to kind of walk around and use some of the natural terrain there and the composer as a shield against some of the like the banshees and the ghosts and the wraiths that'll come in. So use that as kind of your platform for fighting, and kind of gives you the upper ground as well. And since you can kind of walk around it, it gives you the ability to have basically a 360-degree view of all the enemies that are there. And you can also place yourself in such a way that you can see the phantoms coming in, and you can get shots on the phantoms.
Yeah, if you open up with the rocket launchers from the mantis, then you can actually take them out very, very quickly as well.
Right.
Which is always a good thing. If only because the fact it means that you might be able to take out the tanks they're carrying before they get to drop them.
And one important thing to really consider when you're fighting against the phantoms in the race is using the overcharge part for the mantis. Like whenever you shoot the missiles, there's a secondary firing mode where if you just hold down the trigger, it'll actually charge up all the rockets, and you can shoot a full barrage of 5 missiles in one go.
I actually only found out about that playing the level again today. I went through the entirety of the game beforehand, not realizing that was possible, which really upset me because the first time I played this, I got absolutely wrecked over and over and over again. And all the time I was thinking, man, they should make this level a lot easier. I don't know what's happening. Why can't I take everything out? Why haven't I got the firepower? And I had the firepower all the time. I just didn't know it.
Yep.
That was my bad.
So, I mean, you learn. I mean, I didn't know about some things until after the campaign, or after a few run-throughs as well. Like the airlock thing, I didn't know about that until like my 4th or 5th run-through in. So, it's. I mean, you can still pick up things throughout the campaign as you move along. A couple of things to note about this encounter, though, is you have, I think, like 2 or 3 different core sets of encounters that you will have throughout the game. And the first one being is those or not the game, just this part. The first one being the foot infantry that you have to deal with, and then there will be several waves of phantoms coming in, and they'll drop off troops and some ghosts and some wraiths. So what you're going to want to do is, whenever you see those ghosts and wraiths, you primarily want to use your chain gun, and then against the phantoms, you want to use kind of your overcharged missile shot. And the missiles will, like if your reticle is red, the missiles will lock on to whatever you're trying to shoot at. So if you have multiple people playing with you, if you're playing on co-op, definitely take advantage of using the overcharged missile shots, because it just takes 2 of them to take out 1 phantom. A few waves into the whole fight, you're going to have banshees coming in as well. Primarily try to take those out with the chain gun, and then if there aren't any other phantoms or wraiths that you have to worry about, you just fire off your missiles with 1-shots and they will lock onto the banshees, and it takes, I think, only 2 or 3 missiles to take out a banshee. So there's really no point in using your full overcharge to take out just 1 banshee.
Yeah, if you're peppering them with the chain gun as well, you are going to pepper them with that, and that will weaken them significantly. So there really is no point using that overcharge, just because of the fact that by the time you've charged it up, you've probably taken off half of the health of the vehicle anyway, just by shooting it with the gun.
Right. So those are pretty much my tips for that part. Just watch out for the wraiths whenever they drop. I think there's a total of 3 wraiths that get dropped. There's numerous ghosts, and then there's plenty of banshees that come in. So again, kind of hang in and around that area around the composer, because there's definitely some spots where you can dive back behind cover and regain your shields. And just remember that you do have quite a bit of health with the Mantis, so you can go a pretty decent time without a shield on the Mantis and actually be able to stay there, taking out some of the phantoms, the banshees, and some of the foot infantry without having to dive behind cover and letting your shields recharge, because it does take a long time for those shields to recharge.
One thing I also would say is that there's a natural inclination with the way that the battle's progressing and the way the level is set up at the start. You do have a natural inclination to drift off to the right and keep going forwards. Yeah, because naturally you want to engage the enemy. If you do that, what you will find is the third wraith that's dropped off actually ends up being dropped off behind you. So it's really easy to be ambushed with that. So going back to what we were saying before about using the central pedestal as a great way of being able to defend, if you stay to the right of the pedestal but don't leave it, what you will find is the wraith is dropped directly in front of you. If you fire off a barrage of missiles straight at that, that gives you the strength you need to be able just to take that out the game immediately.
Right. And I think 1 full overcharge of missiles won't take out a wraith, but then it doesn't take very much longer with the chain gun to finish it off.
That's right.
So, for that encounter, just be smart with what weapon you're using on what enemy. Primarily, you save the missiles for the Phantoms and the Wraiths, and then use it on the Banshees as needed, and then use the chain gun for everything else. After you're done with that encounter, you're going to go back into the door where you first came out, where you first hit the elevator to come here, and that's pretty much across the way from where you came back down. So directly across from where you first got into the Mantis is the door that you need to go into to hit the elevator back up to where you need to go. As you're making your way up the elevator ride, the station, the whole of the station becomes ripped open, and the Didact basically uses a gravity well to take the composer from its pedestal, and it goes bye-bye. I think at this point, Dr. Tilson's like, well, she doesn't quite know yet because we haven't told her, but actually, this is another part where Cortana goes a little crazy too.
Well, in fairness, there's a lot of reasons to go crazy. With what's going on there, you already have an idea of what the composer's for. You already know what the stakes are, with regards to this. You've just had the entirety of the station hit by this massive shockwave. The window's just blown out directly in front of you, and
everyone's
what you're presented with is this bright red light. You see the
composer drifting off into space towards the Didact ship.
Yes, something that the Infinity took 3 months to move has just been sucked up then and there. That's a really that's a really crappy situation right there. I'd be freaking out too. Yeah. Poor Cortana. She really can't handle it. She's really not in a good way.
No. But you finally convince Cortana to get the lift started again. You go back upstairs. All the scientists are kind of running around trying to figure out what's happening, and you inform Dr. Tilson that the composer's been taken, and she's surprised, and because she didn't think it would be able to be moved. So, not too long after that, the blast doors, I think they open the blast doors, and they see the Didact ship, and I think Chief plugs Cortana into a console and tells Cortana to get the base's defense up online and try to take the Didact out if she can.
Well, the key thing is they want to find a vehicle that's capable of carrying their nuclear payload, isn't it?
So
they need to get off the station. They need to blow up the composer if at all possible. So Cortana's busy trying to find that. At the same time, you've got absolutely everything kicking off. You've got the scientists having literally zero clue as to what it is they're supposed to do at this stage. I'm pretty sure that nothing in their training would have prepared them for this kind of extraterrestrial contact. And then the badness comes.
Yeah, so as Cortana's looking through the ship manifest to see what could carry the nuke and get it to the composer, Dr. Tilson looks at the Didact ship and says something's happening, and
something's happening.
Something's happening. At that point, that's where Chief says get the station defenses up, and Cortana says it's not responding. And then, not before long, the composer activates, and then everyone gets composed.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most harrowing scenes in any Halo game that I've ever seen. For me,
it was very disturbing.
It's visceral.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. Are we doing? I guess we are doing spoilers here. I guess we're seeing.
The game's been out for over 2 months. There's no spoilers anymore.
Yeah, if you haven't played the game by now, then there's no excuse. You see people essentially broken down piece by piece from skin to muscle to skeleton, and even that goes. These people get disintegrated before your very eyes, and it's bad enough seeing some of the stuff. I mean, did you watch Forward Unto Dawn?
Yes.
Now, one of the things I really liked about Forward Unto Dawn was it made it all very scary, made it all very real. When people were being hit with needlers, they were just evaporating, disintegrating. That was pretty scary seeing that live action, but seeing someone broken down into their base elements in a way that the composer does, that's really unsettling, really unnerving. And if that doesn't set the tone for the final mission, I can't imagine what else would. It was really unpleasant for me watching that the first time around, and that really left me going, man, I want to kick that guy's ass. I want to kick that guy's ass so bad. And of course, what immediately follows that, because of course the Chief doesn't get melted down. He manages to survive the encounter as a result of the work the librarian did on him.
Right, the benign mutation.
Yeah,
or prevent mutation. Sorry.
Yeah, the mutation to take him to the next plane of human existence. But what happens after that, when Cortana is just there by herself, that's heartbreaking as well.
Yeah. So the first thing is that she said that she could hear their screams as the data purge. Like, so basically, if you haven't figured this out yet, what the composer does is basically breaks down like all life on a molecular level and kind of transforms it into this data stream, and it pulls it and collects it. That's why if you have played Spartan Ops and you've played through episode 5, that's why when you see them talking about the memories of the Knights being a recent one, is because the Prometheans are basically made up of quote unquote the souls of humans. So what the composer is doing is basically taking an entire snapshot of that person and basically storing it as data. It's supposed to be more used for feasible archival purposes, but I mean, at that point, it's the person as you knew that person is pretty much gone at this point.
Well, it's explained earlier on in the game, isn't it? How there was an intention for that, because it was intended to be used on the Forerunners, wasn't it, to try and ascend to the next plane of existence. And what they found was everything that person had been just fragmented. It broke up. It didn't survive the trip, essentially. So when they tried to reconstitute it all and make them physical again and make them into living beings again, it just didn't happen. They just couldn't come back sane. And of course, you got to remember as well, the composer was what was used to digitize 343 Guilty Spark and the other monitors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the same stuff. So you can imagine, the sorts of minds that you would get as a result of that. If you watched all the monitors in or rather all the what they're called, the things with all the data and the information you press on. This is really embarrassing.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the computers that you get the videos up on.
You mean the domain?
Sorry?
Wait, what? Computer? What?
All right.
I'm confused.
You hold X and the video comes up. The
terminals?
Yes, the terminals. Can we edit that entire segment? That's awful.
I'm like confused over here. I'm like, are you looking for something else? Yeah, the terminals.
Yeah, the terminals. Okay. If you watched all the terminals in Combat Evolved Anniversary, you see Guilty Spark at the start of the entire of his life as a monitor, and there he's very very stable, but very quickly, in spite of all of the Forerunners technology and so on, in trying to create that kind of shell for him, he's already starting to break down.
Well, that's like 10,000 years after it was created? It's still a significantly long time.
It's fantastic, but at the same time, you can imagine what would result if they tried to digitize the whole of humanity and do a similar process for absolutely everyone. It would be a mess. Longer lives, but by no means infinite, which I think was the goal for the technology in the first place. The idea of being able to become a timeless digital entity, essentially.
Right.
But it's scary stuff.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely kind of a shocker when it first happened. It's like, oh wow, that's bad. That's really bad.
And poor Cortana, she's saying she's hearing what was left of them as they were being streamed up into the composer. That's terrifying.
Yeah, that's really crappy. Because she can actually like tap into those kind of things, and the fact that she could basically hear their screamings as they were being broken down and stripped away. That's got to be an unpleasant experience.
Yeah, I mean the whole all the story elements that are shown in this particular level are one of the reasons why this is my favorite one. Just because everything you've been told up until then, this really brings it all to a head. It's a fantastic setup for the next mission, which I'm sure you'll be discussing very soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a couple more things that Cortana says too. That
yes,
at the end of this thing, like there's the three kind of big points at the end where she kind of is talking to Chief, and the first one was that she could hear them as they were being streamed up to the composer. The second one is that she's telling Chief that she's going to be replaced. That she's so far gone that whenever he gets back to Earth, they're going to replace her with possibly another clone of Halsey, but it's not going to be her alongside him anymore. So she's basically worried about dying at this point. Like she knows she's gone. She knows she's gone rampant, but she still can't help the fact that she's essentially dying and not going to be with Chief anymore.
Well, in the whole running story about how which one's the machine, Cortana or Chief. That moment there really hits it home again. Along with all of this, is the fact that she's petrified of death, and she's petrified of losing her best, her best if not only friend, and perhaps you could even perceive their relationship as much more than that. And all the Chief is focused on is we need to get the composer. We need to take out the composer. If we don't take out the composer, more of what we've just seen is going to happen.
Right. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but
it was definitely good for us. Because if the Chief doesn't do that, then there's going to be a lot of disintegrated people. But that really brings home again the humanity of Cortana.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily the inhumanity, but perhaps the disconnect.
I mean, that goes back to what we first saw at the beginning of the campaign, where that one guy was talking about like antisocial behaviors that the Spartans have. So
it's great. It's great stuff. That exchange that Cortana and Chief have at the end of that mission is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely love it.
Well, I mean, most of their dialogue and interaction is just really, really well done. Which is, I want to say that Halo 4 is probably one of the most complex storylines in the Halo franchise so far. And it has a lot of direction, a lot of impetus, which I think in some of the other games has been not been lacking. But I think they've given over more to the bigger picture. You look at the original trilogy. Mm-hmm.
A lot of emphasis is focused on stopping the Covenant, of course, because that's what you're playing for. You're playing to finish off the Covenant and to prevent the destruction of the human race and indeed all life as we know it. That's what we're playing for. That's the prize. If we can stop that, it's all good. With Halo 4, while all that's going on, they are also putting at the forefront of all of that this connection between these two characters and what that means for both, what the implications are for their lives, as both of them might see them end very soon.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why I really love Halo 4, perhaps ahead of quite a few of the other games, just because of the fact that they've taken the storytelling to a whole new level by doing that. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. The last thing that Cortana talks about is she's kind of frustrated or kind of peeved at the fact that whatever this is the line that she basically said, but whatever the librarian did to you obviously worked. So she's obviously kind of ticked off that whatever the librarian did to Chief kind of helped him along, but the fact that she didn't really get any help from the librarian, that she's still going rampant, she's kind of pissed at that. It's like, why do you get all the special treatment? Why don't I get anything?
Well, I didn't know if that was her being angry at the librarian or her being angry at the Chief for essentially dismissing the fact that she's on her deathbed, essentially. Because
possibly both.
Because the exchange is, they're gonna pair you up with another AI, but it's not going to be me. And the Chief just goes, "That's not going to happen." Just isn't willing to talk about it, isn't willing to discuss it, isn't willing to, to let her vent and go through that, because the Chief is so focused on his mission that he's just like, we need to focus up, we need to get this done, and very quickly, she sucks it up a little bit, but you can tell that there's not necessarily resentment. It's just she's finding it very difficult to suppress how upset she is, I think. I think she finds it very difficult just to find a way to respond to that. The Chief has evolved, he's survived, but it's great that he's still alive, of course, but I'm still dying. Can you give me a moment, please? That's how I read it myself. I mean, maybe it's just been given ambiguously, specifically, so it comes across as being able to be interpreted in multiple ways, which again is another reason why I absolutely adore this game.
Yeah,
there's so many levels of ambiguity, and there's so many different ways to read everything that's going on. But
you could definitely tell like how much deeper the relationship between Chief and Cortana is in this game, and I mean how much Cortana really thinks of Chief as more than just a partner. Really, I mean there's people that talk about borderline. Is it more like a romantic relationship from Cortana's part? Because I mean, if we look at the game, she's definitely more human than Chief is right now, and she was based off of a human brain. So who says that she still can't, quote unquote, feel or experience those kind of emotions?
Yeah, I mean, anyone from the first game onwards would be able to know that Cortana and the Chief are more than just bros. Yeah, they're more than just friends. They're more than just partners in crime, romping through the galaxy, blowing stuff up. And we're basically being shown the beginning of the end of that relationship, and just how hurtful that process is, especially seeing as how it's readily apparent that neither of them wanted to end. Yeah, it's the death throes of what's going on there, and it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
Like I think I teared up inside when I saw the last cutscene in the game, the last exchange between Cortana and Chief. Yeah,
because that it's a beautiful thing that they've managed to craft in the story, the relationship between the Chief and Cortana, and the fact that up until now they've been able to craft that with very, very little input, all things considered. Because when you think about what they show in the games and what they show, quote unquote, on screen, half of their dialogue is quips and witticisms, and the other half is just mission based information. But in spite of the fact that there is that somewhat limited scope for conversation, they still manage to create this really fantastic and very real relationship between these two characters.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that in spite of the fact that it's been a little bit limited up until now, they are still able in this game to turn it up to 11 and make it and turn it from being two characters solely focused on getting through the mission and getting and achieving their objectives to becoming an emotional journey, essentially for two lovers who in a relationship that's going to be brought to an end far too soon. and that is an absolutely beautiful thing.
Well, I don't know if we think that is possibly around the Chief's side, but definitely Cortana. It seems like she feels that way.
And you have to wonder whether the Chief is just completely refusing to accept that this is a feasible endpoint, that this is actually capable of happening. You see the Chief every step of the way, and he's looking at what's going on, and he's just going, no, you're not going to be taken away. You're not going to die. I'm going to get you to Halsey. They're going to fix you. And perhaps much akin to his approach to a lot of the obstacles that he's met along the way, whether it be Covenant or Forerunner or whatever, he has just refused to accept that failure is an option. So I don't know if it's a case of him simply refusing to accept the possibility that Cortana can die, and that Cortana can be stripped from him, or if it's a case of, is he willing to acknowledge the fact that that's not going to happen, but doesn't want to let her in on that, doesn't want to get her down, essentially. Again, open to interpretation. And
the
Chief is a fascinating character, anyhow, really is. And
I mean, the pair of them, really.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And so again, you've got that ambiguity there. Like, is the Chief broken? Is he just so blind to what's going on that he refuses to accept any of it as reality? Or is it a case of the fact that there is a certain element of humanity in there, and he's just unwilling? He's trying to keep Cortana going and keep up that hope. Is that all he's doing there? Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely adore this game. So good. Definitely
a good game. All right. Well, that covers our coverage of the Halo 4 Mission Composer. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Definitely stick around, and we will be doing our last one very soon for you guys, midnight. The conclusion to Halo 4 is upon us. So I want to thank Peter Cooper again for coming out and talking with us today and covering the mission. And we will see you guys hopefully in video form as to accompany this show, and then we will see you on our next mission. Peace out.
See ya.